Monday, March 20th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk about how to put a computer in your living room attached to your television. Let's do this.
So I've been getting a lot of emails and messages of various sorts of people saying, I heard there's separate feeds for each day. How do I listen to just one day of Geek Nights instead of all 4 days?
Now, people on iTunes have already seemed to have found these on their own because they're listed, and there's about 20 subscribers to each already.
Yeah, if you go to iTunes or Yahoo Podcasts, you can see there'll be like 5 different entries if you search for Geek Nights.
Actually, scratch Yahoo Podcasts. They've got issues.
Yeah, but the feeds are still there. You can
they disappeared again randomly.
What?
Yahoo Podcasts has problems with Geek Nights, and I don't know why. Sometimes it'll show us normally. It says we have 30 Yahoo subscribers, and we have 70 whatever episodes, and we have 1 feed or 5 feeds or 4 feeds. Sometimes it says we have 3 subscribers and 12 episodes.
Oh yeah, look, there's only 1 feed there now with 8 subscribers and what the hell? Yeah,
Yahoo doesn't understand us, or Yahoo's weird. I don't know. I've given up. I made that thread way back when I was trying to figure it out. I gave up. Yahoo Podcast is just kind of broken.
Yeah, yesterday I saw all 4 feeds there. Oh, whatever.
It's not just us either. It's a lot of podcasts just move up and down and left and right, and the tags changed. I just don't think Yahoo knows what they're doing.
Obviously not. Because
I don't think they monitor it. I think they just let computers do it.
I think the computer is coded poorly. Anyway, if you go to iTunes, you'll see, if you search for Geek Nights in the podcast section of the store, you'll see 4 or 5 different Geek Nights choices. One of them is normal Geek Nights, in which you will get every single episode.
We're not going to call that Geek Nights Full or anything, because that should be the default.
It's Total Geek Nights. Just like Total Park. Anyway.
Well, that means there's an Ultra Geek Nights out there somewhere. You get an episode on Friday.
Ooh. It's just Rim farting into the microphone.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, you can get Ultra Geek Nights right now. For $100 a year, you will get access to Ultra Geek Nights.
Yeah, we have these 5th episodes that we've been making every Friday and keeping secret. And nobody's paid us, so no one had access to them.
One dude has been getting access.
One dude?
One dude.
Who's that one dude?
I don't know. I couldn't think of any funny name to say in the interim.
Oh, okay.
See,
Joey
Geek Nights is at least totally
Shabadoo?
Unscripted.
Yeah. So, anyway, if you want to get, if you're the kind of guy who wants to listen to just Monday, just Tuesday, just Wednesday, just Thursday, you can go now to frontrowcrew.com, and I made a giant blog post, and on the right side in the feeds section, there are now 6 feeds. There's the raw blog feed, which isn't actually a podcast feed, even though I guess you could use it as one, even though you probably don't want to.
No, you don't. The enclosures aren't there or anything.
Well, yeah, they are, actually.
They are?
Yeah, but it's not formatted for, quality with the titles and everything.
Oh, yeah, so it won't have any of the feed burner stuff in it.
Yeah, but you'll get every single post to frontrowcrew.com, whether it's a podcast or not. So if you want to keep track of when we put news items there, that's probably a good feed you want to throw in your Firefox or something. The rest of the feeds are all podcast feeds. The first one is every episode. Then there's just Monday, just Tuesday, just Wednesday, and just Thursday. So if you're using podcatching stuff, you have to change what feed you want. And I'm going to say this probably every day this week, because in case someone is listening to just one day.
Yeah, because a surprising number of people found these feeds before we really advertised them.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those people who found Geek Nights and you think it's awesome and you wish it was more than one day a week, today's your lucky day.
And if you're someone who listens to Geek Nights 4 days a week but would really only want to listen to 1 day a week, well, you can do that too now.
Though I will recommend, not for any self-serving interest, because I don't care how many people listen to Thursdays, but Geek Nights Thursdays are actually usually fairly interesting, and we always get the most feedback from those days.
Oh, really?
At least the feedback from the people who IM me all the time.
Which is the same 2 or 3 people over and over again.
Yeah, but no one else says anything.
That means they're perfectly... Oh, all right, let me... while I'm remembering, we have a forum. It's hoppin'.
Yeah, it's hoppin' in a way that pleases me to no end.
Yeah, so go to frontrowcrew.com and join the forum and say stuff there. Don't just poke around and look. I can tell you lurkers are out there.
Yeah, we can see everything all of you do.
And edit it. No, I don't do that. Oh, and there's the Frapper map. It's on the right side. There's a link in the Scott's Links
Yeah,
area.
you might have remembered, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we rediscovered the Frapper map that we had made and forgotten about, and there were a bunch of people in it.
Yeah, it's just a little map, and you put a push pin where you are, so that way anyone can look at the map and say, oh, look where the Geeknights listeners are around the world. There's one.
I'll tell you one thing for all of you out there. If you zoom way out, you'll notice that there's pins in many other countries. And by many, I mean 3.
Aha. Do you have any Canadians yet?
Actually, I don't remember.
No.
I haven't looked at it in a while.
Me either. But people go there and put your push pins in. And I think we should say this stuff. Yeah, we're going to keep reminding people all week. It's a reminders week here on Geeknights.
That's a great week.
Yeah, great. So you know they have those little robot car rover things on Mars, right?
No, I was completely unaware of the scientific advancements of the previous several years.
Anyway, these guys are like, it's like kind of a flat remote control guy who's got like 3 or 4 wheels on each side, and
A bunch of scoops and cameras and all that sort of thing.
yeah, all kinds of little scientific lab equipments for testing soil and a camera. And
Yeah.
the top is all solar panels to fill the battery up.
Well, it hasn't been in the mainstream news much lately because, people seem to immediately stop caring about space, like the second after anything's announced about it.
Well, because the only part of space people like is the giant rockets, and then once the rockets put a satellite in space, no one cares about the satellite going around space anymore. Who cares? Anyway, they were supposed to last, like 6 months or something like that?
Not too long.
And they're still going because, well, they're freaking crazy. And it's been like the most bang for the buck of any space mission ever, probably. And what happened recently is it almost was the end. Like, if it was the end, it would have been crazy. Like when that Jeopardy guy finally lost. That's what it would have been like, But actually what happened was one of the wheels broke. So you have this thing that had like 8 wheels, and now it has 7. But it still has enough power. So what they're doing is they're having it drive up this little hill, or kind of a big hill. I don't even know. I didn't see a picture. And it's going to drag this dead wheel along and recharge its solar cell at the top of the hill and keep going. It's just unbelievable.
I think it's really cool, just the ingenuity here. It's like, if any of you aren't familiar with the space program, have you ever seen, Apollo 13? The kind of, or read anything about the Russian space program.
Oh, the Russians, yeah.
Just the things that they'll do, because it's not like there's a procedure for everything that goes wrong. Almost every problem the space program has ever run into was a new problem, like new to humanity.
Because they think about most of the problems and have like quadruple redundant, backups so that those problems never happen,
So when there is a problem, they have engineers who have to figure out how to fix it based on what's up there, like right now.
Because if there's a problem, that means it's obviously something you didn't think of beforehand.
Yeah, I went to space camp when I was a kid, so...
Yeah, that's pretty much the job of space people is think of stuff beforehand. That's your job. Think of it now.
Unless you are that kid who was appointed to the head of NASA by Bush, then your job is suppress research.
That's a much less pleasant job.
Probably
But
easier.
at least lives aren't on the line in that job.
No, not so much.
So you wouldn't feel guilty if you failed to find a way to, duct tape the space helmet or something.
Now, in other tech news, much more computer tech, Delicious, which we all know and love and use, the Web 2.0-ish bookmarky thing online. If you don't know what Delicious is, there's a link. Anyway, they have now added private bookmarking, meaning you can add a site to your Delicious and flag it so no one else can see it.
This is something that I, thought of quite a while ago, and a lot of other people were clamoring for it, but the only real use that I can see for it is, number one, I could bookmark, like, my bank or like, my credit card, and no one else can see it, which is good. And the other thing is, I could keep track of all sorts of porn links in there, and no one else would see that I was hoarding porn links.
Now, both of those are very good and valid, but there's one other thing that I don't think Scott even thought of, and when I realized this, because it's a problem I've always had with Delicious. If you work at a company where you have a large company, where you have an internal intranet, like IBM where I work currently, we have our own internet, all on our own, with our own web servers and everything inside. And it's completely inaccessible to the outside, and the links are useless and broken if you try to access them from the outside world. Having those private in my Delicious is very useful because there's basically an internal equivalent of Google that I have to use to find things, and I have hundreds and hundreds of internal bookmarks that I need to access on a regular basis. So using Delicious, I can still, as long as I can get to the outside world internet, I can use Delicious to find those things in IBM. And I mean, a lot of other companies have similar infrastructure. So
isn't it great that you're not going to be at IBM so much longer?
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Like my company, we have some internal web servers, but I write the web things that are on most of them, and I only use like 2 of them.
Yeah, well,
the one that I'm making and the one that I just made. So.
Yeah, I wish I could talk more. There's a lot of other IBM news today, actually, but it's not stuff that's been released yet. All I can say is that, God damn it.
Big Blue Evil.
No, not evil. Definitely not evil. But I will say this. IBM is doing fine compared to Sony.
I'm doing fine compared to Sony. I'm profitable despite debt.
All right, so I got one more news here because we might go a little short on the tail end of the show, but Microsoft, supposedly, this seems to be more rumor than truth currently, is going to make an iPod killer. Now, they didn't just say iPod in this rumor. It was an iPod, DS, PSP, camera, blah, killer. It'll kill every small consumer electronics product that's out there.
Now, I have 2 feelings on this. Number 1...
Lie? Blatant lie?
Well, no, if you look, right, I realized recently, because I've been looking for a phone replacement, right, and I want to get... Right now I have a BlackBerry and a phone, and I want to combine them into one device. The BlackBerry is a phone, but there's a long story. I can't actually get phone service on it, and whatever. So the only good option these days, at least in America, is HTC Wizard, HTC Apache, HTC whatever. These are all Windows mobile devices. Microsoft doesn't make them. Microsoft just developed the technology and licenses it to other people. So basically what I think Microsoft is doing is they're going to develop some sort of technology that will, like an OS or something, that will be iPod, PSP, whatever killer, but it'll be up to other companies to pay Microsoft to license it and then attempt to profit off of it. Microsoft profits no matter what. If at least one person tries to use it, Microsoft profits.
Microsoft seems to do that often. It's definitely the strategy of develop something, make money off it no matter what, let everyone else take the risk.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, we can, develop a risky new kind of technology that's never been done before, and then if it fails, it doesn't matter. We still make out.
Now, I've seen some other ideas as to what this could be. Some people seem to be suggesting that Microsoft leaked this rumor on purpose in order to convince the market that they're competing in a market that they're not actually competing in.
Could be.
Maybe if they're going to release a handheld device a year from now, they start making the buzz now, and then they announce it, a year from now.
Who knows?
Yeah,
but what I
do
know is it SanDisk. SanDisk, the people who make like the little flash chips for your cameras and stuff.
Yep.
That's probably the only product you buy with their name on it. They're actually competing pretty well in the MP3 player market because they have all that flash storage production capability. I think they actually make like the cheapest like space per dollar flash player on the market.
Huh.
And they say that they're going to start eating away at Apple's market share. And everyone's kind of like, I think you're, it seems like they're saying they're doing a lot better than they are, like they're lying. But at the same time, who knows? It's kind of weird.
Now, the other observation I have, and this is more me than what other people have been saying, but I'll just note that an MP3 player uses processing power and thus uses batteries. A camera uses batteries independently of that. And all these other little bits use battery power. Having a device that does everything will require a monster battery.
Not really, because it only does any one thing at one time.
Yeah, but even then, think about it. Most people listen to MP3s pretty much constantly, and then they still expect to be able to make a call and play games. A lot of people I know, at least, would listen to an iPod while they play their DS. I just don't think the device that Microsoft wants to make is feasible in a way that would be affordable.
Oh, no.
It could be done. If you spend $1 million, you could make a perfect little piece of technology.
No one says it'll be cheap. They didn't say we're going to make a cheap
but if it's cheap,
PSP killer.
If it's cheap, it's not a killer because it doesn't compete with that product. Just how the PSP doesn't compete with the DS anymore.
Well, the PSP doesn't have games. That could be why it doesn't compete with the DS. It has nothing to do with the price.
So my thing of the day, I chose it. It's something I found a long time ago, and I meant to make it a thing of the day. I just never did for various reasons. I mean, better things kept coming up. But it's basically, I'm throwing it as a bone to all the people arguing about religion in the forums. And one, I just like to say that I'm very pleased that everyone is arguing about religion in the forums.
Everyone loves a good religion argument.
I've been, not just an argument, a flame war. I was hoping for some sort of epic flame war to kind of break the forums in. And we finally have a topic where enough people are strongly opinionated enough on to where you guys are arguing. I'm real happy.
Let's start some more flame wars in that forum. With
All right.
more people, new people.
Though here's some fodder for the flame war. This is a list of almost every comic book character anyone's ever heard of and their religious affiliations. It's got the Golem here. He was Jewish, obviously. Superman was a Methodist, apparently.
I don't know what's up with that. He's an alien.
Yeah, my favorite one is there's a superhero called the Atheist, and it lists his religion as atheist.
Oh, okay. At least it makes sense.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't like the atheist. Secretly Scientologist.
Now,
Are
the
there
one
any
that-
Scientologists?
Let me look. Actually, there's one. Triathlon is a triune understanding, which is based on Scientology.
Oh, okay. So he's a culty.
Yeah, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I thought this was interesting, and I hope to see some arguments along the lines of Superman believed in God. Why don't you?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So my thing of the day is this way cool video I found this morning. Actually, I'm pretty sure this entire website is funny because it seems to have a lot of links to other videos. Some of them are just Family Guy clips and whatever, but whatever. I think it's pimppanther.com is the name of their site. The funny video that I'm specifically going to link to now is a few guys are playing a video game. Oh, I started playing it by accident. In the video game, they're controlling this giant kind of army dude who's like the main character, I guess. And, you know, in a video game where you can't die, it's always fun to do silly things like, you know, jump off a building and get up, shoot yourself.
Run into a wall repeatedly.
Yeah, I remember like in GoldenEye, you used to do all kinds of stuff with like the invincible code. You'd like jump off of stuff and shoot things, like stand in the middle of giant explosions of fire and get burnt without dying. Anyway, they keep doing that sort of thing, and then, well, you'll have to see for yourself.
Yeah, we can't ruin this one.
It's got high production values, and it's awesome.
All I want to say is the sheer ferocity of the beating and beatdown that ensue is classic.
More than classic, I would say. What's older than classic?
Timeless?
There you go. Perhaps even more so, antiquitous.
Alright, wasn't that an expansion for Magic?
That was antiquities.
Close enough. Anyway, today is Monday, and we're not doing a themed week, but it is Science and Tech Day. And we have a lot of ideas for shows that we didn't feel like doing any research for. And we realized that there's one topic that we've actually just embroiled ourselves in yet again.
Awesome.
It is hooking a computer up to your living room TV.
Ah, the living room. The place where a computer must go. In fact, is quickly becoming the most important place to have a computer. Much more useful than on the desk.
I mean, honestly, we didn't really have a computer hooked up to our TV until we moved into this big house. So all through college, whenever we wanted to watch something, we all huddled around my computer because I had the biggest monitor.
Or we would, like, burn a VCD.
Yeah, those are the highest of quality items there.
And then later we would burn a DVD.
By the time we were burning DVDs, we were almost moved out anyway.
We were definitely almost moved out by that point.
So at one point, when we moved here, we were talking about building a nice micro ATX little PC to hook up to the TV.
But it turned out we had enough parts to just make extra computers.
We have several extra computers.
Many.
If you're a geek, you'll eventually accumulate several extra computers.
If you're not accumulating several extra computers as a geek, either A, you're getting rid of your computers, bad move.
Well, no, give
B,
them to us.
you're not buying enough new computers. If you only have one computer in your house, buy two more. Is better.
Now, we're not going to talk about Myth TV. because while Myth TV is awesome, we have not yet set it up for reasons we'll get into.
Yeah, we're going to have a whole nother episode about Myth TV, and perhaps some things from that episode will become entwined in yet a third episode relating to a different topic. And yeah, I want to actually get Myth TV working before I talk about it. But actually, let's talk about what Myth TV is, though.
All right, it's basically, TiVo, or whatever all the other PVRs are out there. I forget what they're all called. Anyway, Myth TV is just an open source implementation of something very much like that.
In other words, instead of buying a TiVo and paying TiVo every month, you take a computer and you plug it into your television and you install Myth TV on it, which is absolutely free. It runs on Linux, which is absolutely free.
Free is in both speech and beer.
Yeah, so you pay nothing except for the cost of the computer, obviously.
Which is obviously you already have one lying around.
Obviously. And it does the same thing a TiVo does. In fact, better.
Well, almost. The one thing you don't get is the directory that you pay TiVo for.
But there is a free directory you can connect to online.
Yep, and it's mostly as good, as far as I can tell. We don't know. We don't actually have any sort of television service whatsoever. But
yeah. I mean, if we're going to use Myth TV, the reason we want to use it is not to watch television or record TV shows, which is its primary function.
Yeah, though we might get an antenna to record, I don't know, Simpsons.
Yeah, who knows. But it is also just a very good interface for using a computer attached to a television.
Yes, especially emulation and, emulation.
Yeah, it gets really hard to use a computer when you just plug it into your TV and try to use the mouse and keyboard, especially at a high resolution. You can't see shit.
Especially if you don't have an HD TV.
Yeah, like we don't.
Yeah, we could have had one. It just wasn't worth the money.
No, not worth it. So, Myth TV lets you use like a remote control if you set it up right, and it just has big text and nice, easy to scroll through menus, and you can set it up to check the weather, check the news, read RSS feeds, run emulators from nice, and all it does is put nice, easy menus on all this stuff to play video files that are just stored on your computer that you downloaded with BitTorrent, all that good stuff. I think it even has BitTorrent. I'm not sure. Web browser for sure has a web browser. So if it gets really hard to use GNOME or KDE or whatever your choice of desktop, system is on Linux, you can just run like a crap desktop environment like Fluxbox, or Fluxbox, people are going to yell at me now, but Fluxbox.
Yeah. All right, fine, IceWM. No one will defend that.
Maybe not. All right, you can run Rat Poison, and then run Myth TV, and you'll never have to look at Rat Poison or use it, and it'll be really easy to use your computer plugged into
All right,
TV.
For any of you who don't know what Rat Poison is, I'll put it very briefly. In that, once I went to the website to read about rat poison, and there was no screenshots section. Instead, there was text explaining that if you need a screenshot, rat poison is not for you.
Exactly.
But instead of talking about Myth TV, we're going to talk about just the basic, if you want to have a TV in the living room with a computer attached to it, all the things you've got to consider, because we recently went through all this and we've learned our lessons.
Step 1, you're going to want a computer. You don't need so much RAM. That's the first thing. You only need about 256 might even get you by, but
RAM is so cheap.
Yeah, 512 is more than enough. Way more than enough. You're not going to need a whole lot of RAM. You need only enough RAM to hold a video file in memory, and not even that. It's just nothing. So don't get a gig of RAM. That's silly. Yeah,
basically the key factors I would consider, well, I guess it depends on whether or not you're scavenging an old computer or buying a new computer for the purpose.
Yep.
But quiet. You want it to be quiet.
Get big fans and not so many of them.
Yep, and keep in mind that it's not going to be a gaming machine. It's not going to heat up that much. The video card's not going to be doing 3D whatever, so you can get away with less powerful cooling. If you can, try to get away with passive cooling wherever you can put it in.
Yep. Number 2, you're going to want a CPU that's... You don't want to get one that's crazy stupid fast, because you don't need that. But you have to make sure you don't skimp too much, or else you'll have videos that skip, and that's no good.
A broad idea, and I hate using a number like this, especially a number like megahertz, but more than 1.2 gigahertz.
You're probably going to want maybe 2 or 1.5.
We've got what? We got a Duron 900 down there?
Yeah, Duron 900 is not enough.
That's just below the line.
My desktop computer currently is a 1.8 gigahertz Athlon XP. If you get a high-end Sempron or a low-end 64, AMD 64, or pretty much any Pentium 4, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
or anything better than a Pentium 4 is more than fine.
I'll just say it because I have to. If you even consider overclocking a rig like this, just kill yourself right now.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
No reason at all.
In fact, if anything, you'd want to underclock it. That way it'll be quieter and less hot.
Mm-hmm. The third thing you're going to want is just buy like a $20 something that plays DVDs. You don't need to burn DVDs next to your living room TV. You just need to play them.
Or in the very least, when someone comes over with a DVD full of crap, you can put it on there and watch it.
Mm-hmm. So you want to get something that's a DVD reader. Now, these days, you can get a DVD burner, reader, rewriter thing for like $20. So just get the cheap one off Newegg.
Yeah, I mean, having a DVD burner there would probably be real handy, especially a CD burner for, your friends are over, burn a CD for the car, whatever. But don't spend money if you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk at the end about if you're going to spend money, what you want to do.
Oh, yeah. The third thing, the most important thing, is the video card. You're probably going to want, from my experience, an NVIDIA video card, only because, especially with Linux, but also with Windows, the NVIDIA video cards are the best at supporting TV out, regardless of operating system.
Yes. Now,
we had an ATI card, and we plugged it into the TV with S-Video, and we just couldn't, no matter what we did, could we get any video to come out of that S-Video hole.
Now, there's nothing wrong with ATI's hardware. I mean, ATI and NVIDIA, I'd say their hardware is equal. Just each has its pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, NVIDIA's drivers are incredibly well written and awesome.
ATI's drivers are crap.
ATI's drivers are a travesty unto man.
But this doesn't even have to do with drivers. If you have an NVIDIA video card, right, and your computer has no hard drive and no operating system, and you plug in the S-Video cable to the television,
it'll work.
You will see the BIOS going by on the television.
It might not take up the whole screen or something, but it'll be there.
No, it'll actually be, unless your TV is wicked old. But
yeah.
Assuming you're using...
I don't want to make an assurance here that we can't back up in the future.
Yeah, but if you're using an S-Video cable or better, then it's able to detect your television settings.
Unless that S-Video cable is then converted to RCA and then run through an RF modulator and then into an old TV through an antenna.
Yeah, we're talking. That's one thing you have to be sure of. You're going to want to plug your computer directly into your television.
There's a lot of reasons for that.
You're going to need a television that's somewhat modern. It's sad.
Now, the other thing here is, talking about the TV... we're not talking about HD TV because it's almost impossible to take advantage of HD TV via a computer.
No, it's incredibly easy to take. It's the easiest way to do HD TV.
The problem with it, here's the thing. You can get it to work on TVs, but the HD TV standard changes so much. And
you realize every single HD TV that you can buy has a DVI hole.
HDM or whatever.
No, a DVI hole. As in, you take a DVI cable and connect your video card directly to the television.
Really? Because
it works like a monitor.
There's a guy at my work who's like super into movies, and he has multiple computers hooked up to his TV, and he said that didn't work.
Really?
Yeah. I'll ask him about it tomorrow.
My dad has a Sony. That's like the worst you could possibly get. HD TV. It's a CRT, WEGA, one of those, and I took a computer with a DVI cable and plugged it right into the TV, and it worked perfectly.
Really? Badass.
With no effort whatsoever. So,
if you're willing to spend an extra $500, then go nuts.
The rule is, if you buy an HD TV, make sure it has a DVI hole, and not just an HD whatever.
HDMI, I think.
Any one of those DRM holes. Or component holes you can't really get component out. S-Video works just as well, though.
Now, if you want a PVR with HD TV or anything like that, yeah, there's basically one option. You got to get a somewhat expensive special card.
Well, it's $170. It's readily available, and it's called the HD 3000. You can go to PCHDTV.com and buy this thing. Now, there are probably other things you can buy, but this is the one that is guaranteed to work with Linux 100%.
Yep, just now Scott was reading off the feature list of it, and it's pretty robust.
It's basically a TiVo on a card that goes in a PCI slot. And it's even compatible with the HD 2000 card, which is the previous version that wasn't HD. Well, I guess it was kind of HD, but it wasn't as awesome. And if you have an NVIDIA card to go with it, they kind of work in tandem. And you can get a whole bunch of these cards if you need multiple tuners, if you're a nut like that. And it supports pretty much Linux perfectly and HD perfectly.
Ooh, wait a minute. Tandem with my NVIDIA card. Does it use those cool, unlabeled special connectors on my video card or anything?
No.
Every NVIDIA card I've ever had has multiple connectors internally for ribbon cables that don't go anywhere.
All it will do is use the power of the NVIDIA GPU in order to play the HD TV smoothly.
Oh,
That's all it means.
that's understandable because HD is a lot of data.
Yeah.
All right, though at least in terms of what we're going to talk about, we don't have any HD whatsoever in this house.
Nope, but I know all about it, or enough about it, more than most people.
Yeah.
Most people who have HD don't even set it up right.
Yeah, there's one guy I know, and he's at my work, and basically his whole life has become movies, and he has a hell of a setup from what I can gather, and as far as I can tell, he knows everything about it. He's got like multiple computers hooked up to his TV. He's got like multiple cable providers and HD and Netflix, and he's gonna get Blu-ray right away.
Whoa, I didn't think anyone was gonna get Blu-ray.
Well, right
ever.
away, I mean like when it's $400, not right away the first one when there's no Blu-ray DVDs out yet.
Yeah, actually, they're gonna be there'll probably be Blu-ray and HD DVDs before there are players.
Actually, there was just an article on it recently where they were talking about that, and they delayed Blu-ray partly because that way there would be DVDs out for it first, I think.
Who knows? Who cares?
All I know is the list of Blu-ray DVDs are not movies that will take advantage of Blu-ray at all.
Anyway, back to computers plugged into the television.
Yep, we use S-Video.
Yeah, S-Video is simple. It works. It's not a problem.
And honestly, most things you download off the internet are not the highest of quality because they're compressed somewhat.
The thing is, what you're going to do with your computer, if it's like a video watching type of thing, even if you download an HD quality video, the S-Video can probably more than handle it. And for other things you do with your computer is probably going to be at a higher resolution than your TV can ever handle. I mean, your computer can beat the TV HD resolution by like a million miles.
Yeah, so be ready when you're setting up your desktop, if you don't use Myth TV or anything, to make all the fonts big, keyboard shortcuts, and or a wireless keyboard.
Yeah, make sure you have a wireless keyboard and mouse of some sort. We just bought a little Logitech one for $40 because we were suffering with wired ones.
Yeah, we had a wireless one that had a range of about 1 inch.
Now we've got one that can actually reach across the room, which is cool.
It's a good feeling to sit on your couch with a mouse on your lap and a keyboard sitting next to it, picking a movie that you downloaded off BitTorrent.
It's actually a pretty light, nice and keyboard too. I expected it to be crappier, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you want to splurge, Logitech makes the de novo media controller keyboard and mouse setup.
I would not pay money for that thing.
It's
at
like
least
200,
not much money.
It's 200 something bucks, but damn, it has all the buttons you need to control shit.
If someone gave me one, I wouldn't complain.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's definitely the thing you buy if you're rich.
All right, now hardware-wise, the last real thing is if you're going to buy a new computer, at least for this, or even if you have one around, think about what kind of case you have it in.
The smaller the better, and quieter the better.
Yeah, I mean, I could put my computer down next to the TV. My computer is a giant hulking monstrosity.
Yeah, I don't think we can stress enough that you need a living room computer to be quiet more than anything else. Because if you're watching a movie and the whole time there's this whirr, that's no good.
Also the fact that you're going to want to leave it on all the time, because booting the computer every time you want to watch something is just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, until we have computers that have like solid-state hard drives and they boot up instantly, you're going to want to be leaving this thing on all the time.
Which means, once again, you want it quiet.
And you're going to want it not to be so power-hungry, so don't put a whole bunch of drives in it. Just, ideally, you would have all your videos and things stored somewhere else on your local network.
Either on your computer or if you have, a server somewhere on a server.
Yeah, you don't want to fill your living room computer up with hard drives because then you have to listen to them in your living room. But if you must, put them in there.
In fact, honestly, especially if you're putting an older computer down there, and it's not serial ATA, put a 5400 RPM drive in there. Those things are actually really quiet.
Yeah, just put like a 20 gig old drive in there. It doesn't have to be fast or anything because you're barely going to be using it.
Yeah, the drive we threw on ours actually has a broken spot in it.
Yeah, we store a few videos on there, but that's just because we don't have a storage array set up yet.
Yep, we're working on that.
Yeah.
And as for the case, if you're building a new one at least, go micro ATX, because that way it's a tiny little motherboard. And there are computer cases that are basically the size and shape of a DVD player.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just put it there, and it'll just be like another thing on your rack sitting above your DVD player and under your Xbox.
Well, you won't even need a DVD player.
I prefer watching DVDs on a DVD player.
I don't see it. If your computer plays DVDs just fine, what's the difference?
Well, yeah, if it does, but it's just the usability and the ease of the fact that the DVD player just works automatically no matter what all the time.
Oh, that's why Myth TV is one of the things that handles that.
Yeah, but we don't have Myth TV going yet, so...
Of course, and if you are smart and you use Linux properly, It's not difficult. If when you buy a DVD-ROM from the store, right, to go in a computer, it's set to region free by default. As soon as you put a DVD into it, let's say I put a region 1 DVD into it and I play it in Windows, it will automatically set the DVD player to region 1.
Yep, a lot of them have a grace period of like 5 DVDs, and then it'll stop changing, things like that.
Yeah. Then let's say I put a region 2 DVD into it. It'll ask me in Windows if I want to change my region to region 2. And if I say yes, that there's a physical thing in the drive that breaks. And there are maybe 5 of those things that can break.
Yeah, there's all sorts of different methods. Don't try to open your drive and figure it out.
No, you can't
sometimes
undo it.
Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's in unflashable firmware.
For all purposes, it's undoable. Once it's broken, you're done. So you'll have like 5 chances to change your region, and then once you've changed it 5 times, you're left with the last region. Or maybe your drive will even stop working. Who knows?
So if you see that dialogue, don't think you have broken the horrible encryption and you can just change regions. Your time is numbered.
Yeah. So what you want to do is if you use Linux and never use Windows, Linux won't automatically change your region. It'll just leave it at region 0 if you never had Windows and the drive's region was never changed, it's a brand new drive, you'll be able to keep it region free forever. Of course, there is a program for Linux, I think, called Region Set or DVD Region Set that you can get, and it very reliably, at least in my experience, allows you to change to whatever region you want, but, of course, it will break the things because it has to. So, if you accidentally, say, buy a drive, boot Windows, watch a bunch of Region 1 DVDs, you decide you want to go to Linux and never go back to Windows ever again, you can go to Linux, change your drive to region free, and then never go back to Windows again because it'll set your region back to who knows.
Now, sound cards, basically it depends on what kind of setup you've got. If you don't have surround sound or a receiver, it doesn't matter. Any sound card in the world that fits in your computer will work just fine.
Yep, what you're going to want to do in that case is take a cable that on one end is a headphone plug, just like the kind you have on your earbud headphones you put into your iPod.
We're being simple here. If you know what they're actually called, whatever. This is for people who don't know. Because if you know, you're not listening to this.
And on the other end of the cable will be a red and a white plug. And you're going to want to take the headphone plug and put it into the sound card on the computer. And you're going to take the red and the white plugs and put them onto the audio input on the television next to the video input that comes out of the computer.
Now, generally, just adjust all the volume on the computer to whatever set level sounds good and never touch it again, and always change the volume via the TV.
Yeah, that's the general idea with sound, is that you want all the sound comes from somewhere and eventually ends up at some central point, really close to the speakers. So if you're using your television speakers, the closest point to those speakers is the TV volume. So adjust every other volume to something and leave it and never touch it, and then only use the TV volume.
Just like podcasting here. Scott and I are set to 2 different volumes, and then the final volume, the knob that I'm poking at all the time while we talk, is just one knob at the end right before it goes to the computer.
Yep. So,
I mean, it's real simple if you don't have surround sound. Or if you have a receiver but you don't care about it, do the same thing and just plug it into the receiver on whatever input.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want to do surround sound, it's trickier.
I'm like an expert on this because I spent maybe 5 years figuring out how surround sound and Linux work.
Yeah, he really did.
And all the different things about it and all this crazy batshit surround sound crap.
All I've learned from listening to him complain about this is that it's a pain in the ass.
All right. Let me tell you a couple things. Number one, if you're going to use Windows, because if you're not going to use Linux on your computer, living room PC, you can use that Windows Media Center version.
It's actually, honestly, really good if you don't care about paying for it and you don't care that it's Windows.
Yeah, if you don't care about paying for it, you don't care that it's Windows, you don't care that it has DRM, and you don't care that you'll only play like Region 1 DVDs, go use it. Why not? It's really easy. You don't have to spend a bunch of time setting it up.
Don't think we're being condescending here. Really, it's that easy, and if you don't care, go for it.
Yeah, but I got to warn you one thing. It will require a better computer than a Linux setup will.
Yes, you'll probably end up buying a new computer anyway if you do that.
Yep. They sell computers in the store. Windows Media Center computers. Buy one. And if you have money, go for it. They work. People seem to like them. And that's so bad. It's like a TiVo alternative.
Yep, because there was a guy at work who kept saying he wanted to do something like that. So I kept telling him, use KnopMyth. It makes making Myth TV easy.
Well, it doesn't.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that some other day.
I remember he came back to me. Well, I'll tell the whole story another day. But suffice to say, he ended up buying one of those Windows Media Center things.
Yeah, they work. All good. Anyway, surround sound. In Windows, surround sound will work. If you buy a sound card that supports surround sound and plug the speakers into it properly, it'll work. The thing is, if you want to route audio from, say, your DVD player, your VCR, etc., into the computer and then out of the sound card of the computer to the speakers, you're in a little trouble there.
You're better off routing everything to a receiver.
Yeah, you need to. If you buy a receiver to do your surround sound, well, now your computer doesn't really need a surround sound video card. It just needs a
sound card.
Sound card. It doesn't need a surround sound card. It just needs a sound card with digital out, preferably optical out. But SPDIF out also works.
Yep. I mean, we're not going to get into the details of how surround sound works, but consider that the word logic appears in Dolby Pro Logic.
Yes.
There is logic there that can determine what the surround sound should be, and data is put to that in various ways.
The only thing I can say is if you want surround sound, number one, anything more than 5.1 surround sound is stupid. Because you're never going to find a DVD that has 6.1 or 7.1 surround. It's just silly. 5.1 surround is the only surround
Yeah,
you
we're
need.
not even kidding. All these extra surround sound things are just scams for Best Buy to sell you
They're
more
mostly
equipment.
scams to sell extra speakers to gamers.
Yeah.
All right? Number two, what you want to, if you're going to go for surround sound, the speakers are the most important thing. So buy the best speakers you can afford, as long as they're not crazy Randy audiophile silliness. You'll be able to tell because they'll advertise a bunch of things that don't sound right.
Yeah, I'd say as a general baseline, if you don't know what you need, don't spend more than $300 or $400.
Yeah. I spent $200 on my Logitech Z5500s, and those are a good choice. For any not incredibly large room, they're perfect. Home theater, desk, surround. It's just perfect surround sound.
Yeah, I will note that his subwoofer is bigger than my monitor.
Yeah, it was bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Well, no, yeah, it's slightly bigger than my monitor, I think, volume-wise.
Who knows?
My monitor is fucking huge, though.
Maybe it's equal to your monitor.
Yeah,
It could be bigger. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll measure.
Yeah, we will.
But now, one, if you're cheap, I know a lot of people listen to Geeknights are in college, and when we were in college, we were poor, and we have poor. It's not even surround sound, but it's the poor man's receiver. Go to Kmart or Target, whatever, and you know those crapo stereos they sell that come with like 2 speakers, and they're always big and nice looking.
Yep.
Buy one of those. They're like $80 at most, usually a lot less.
Make sure it has RCA in.
Yeah, the little red and the little white thing on the back.
Yep, the one I talked about before.
Yep, and just plug all of your stuff into that.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It's not the greatest sound, but for watching a TV, it's usually a hell of a lot better than what's on the TV itself, speaker-wise.
Yeah, I mean, cheap TVs usually have one little speaker. Slightly better TVs have 2 speakers, and they're usually not the greatest speakers in the world.
If your TV has good speakers on it, that TV costs more money than my computer.
Yeah, and usually the really good TVs don't have speakers. Like the really good computer monitors don't have speakers, and only crap computer monitors have speakers on them. It's like that. But yeah, if you're going to do surround sound, what you're going to do is if you really want it, you're going to pay for equipment that has either an optical input or an SPDIF input. Then you're going to get a sound card that has optical output or SPDIF output and take the wire from the sound card to the speaker or receiver.
And it'll probably just work normally, but if you want all the surround to work, you're going to have to listen to another episode we do where Scott will explain all that in Linux.
Or read like the near book size guide I'm in the middle of writing that's taking a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm writing a whole giant guide about PC audio, specifically with Linux and specifically with surround sound, so that everyone can learn from my 5 or 6 years of journeying to get stupid speakers to work in Linux.
Yeah, I gave up pretty much right away, and I've always just dumped with a subwoofer and left and right.
I solved my problem with money. It's a good thing I got plenty of it.
But anyway, you'll get the sound set up somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, just get stuff and watch it.
Yeah, load up your BitTorrents, download your TV shows, and run MPlayer, and
I mean, I remember
watch away.
we set this up, and at first we didn't use it that much. It was just this computer that was sitting there. and it was always on.
Well, that's because we couldn't really get it to work. We were switching out video cards and stuff.
Yeah, well, because of ATI. And then we didn't have a network drop to it for the longest time.
And we originally just wanted to use it to play DDR.
Yep, until we discovered that the floor in our living room is not the most structurally sound item.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it'll hold us up. It won't hold us up if we're jumping around like monkeys.
No, it will not.
So we couldn't play DDR, and the box sat there for a while. Every now and then we played emulated games on it.
Yeah, for emulated games, I recommend you buy a USB hub, which we didn't buy, but that's okay. And that should, like one with 4 ports, so you can bring 4 USB ports right out to the front where people are sitting, and then just get USB gamepads and plug them in.
I highly recommend, though you'll have trouble getting them to work in Linux sometimes. Lixang makes things where you can connect an old Super Nintendo controller to a USB.
Yeah, there are all sorts of things you can buy to plug in actual NES, SNES, PlayStation controllers directly, or convert them to USB and then plug them into the computer.
Now, we'd really like to say buy the Xbox 360 PC controller, but we haven't actually found one.
Well, there is one in Circuit City that no one's bought, but I'm afraid to buy that particular one because it's too much money.
Yeah, but it looks like it'll be a good thing if it ever comes down in price.
There is, for anyone who doesn't know, you can buy an Xbox 360 controller that is designed to work with a computer as opposed to working with an Xbox 360. You can probably buy them online pretty easily. Buying them in a store, they're hard to find. They come in a similar package to an Xbox 360 controller, only instead of the green and white cardboard, there's red Microsoft Windowsy cardboard. And it has a USB plug. And I've read that people have definitely gotten it to work 100% in Linux by doing, adding the things in the kernel and such. And it's not incredibly difficult, but not easy for people who don't know what they're doing in Linux.
Now, if any of you have this controller or know someone who does, let us know. We're really curious about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking to buy one because the problem is a lot of PC gamepads are just crappy.
Yeah, I mean, the standard right now seems to be the Gamepad Pro.
The Gravis Gamepad Pro USB.
Now,
the Gravis Gamepad period has been the PC standard for a long time.
Now, I submit that it is terrible.
It's not great.
The reason is, and it really seems to only affect old school Nintendo games, that if you hit right, you very often hit down and right a little bit instead, which will destroy you, because then Mario ducks instead of running.
Yeah. It works, and it works easily. Like, it's guaranteed to just work, period. The problem is it's not so precise in its controlling. So if you're playing any game, especially old emulated games that requires precision handling, you are going to die.
Now, also, we mentioned DDR. If you want to play DDR with Stepmania on this computer, one, make sure you don't have neighbors downstairs.
Make sure the basement is a good place. If you have a furnished basement, you can't do better than that.
Yeah, we're actually thinking this summer we'll just tilt the TV a bit and play on our deck because we have a big sliding door there and then a deck.
That might maybe work.
Yeah, I think it will. But anyway, you're going to need to connect your DDR pads to the computer somehow. And this is a problem that has vexed me for ages. It is not... Basically, you'll see things in the store that claim to do it. They lie. They almost all lie. If you want a thing that works, go to the Stepmania forums or the DDR Freak forums and look and see what those people recommend.
Yeah, for converting PlayStation to USB, there are plenty of things that work. The problem is they do not support hitting 2 arrows at the same time because, who hits 2 arrows at the same time? Well, DDR people hit 2 arrows at the same time.
Yep. And even then, a lot of them, you have to put them in a special mode to make them work with dance pads.
Yeah, there's a special code you have to press in.
Usually it's hold left and right at the same time, or hold X and O at the same time for 3 seconds, and then hit start, stuff like that.
I recommend you buy a dance pad that has USB on it automatically.
Yes, the new Red Octane Ignition pad has USB on it, and it's good. It works.
Yep, I have it. It works just fine.
I bought my Ignition pad a year and a half before Scott did, and that did not exist yet, so mine does not have USB.
No, it does not.
It has Xbox, which should be USB, but it doesn't output the same signal.
Nope.
Well, same signal, it doesn't output the same key presses.
Mm-hmm. It's generally a bad idea to try to get older PlayStation dance pads to work on a computer. Just buy a dance pad that has USB.
The dance pads that plug into parallel ports work fairly well. The problem is you will never find one of those again.
Nope, they don't exist anymore.
Unless if you see one for sale, don't buy it. It's probably either used or has been moldering in a warehouse for the past 1,000 years.
If you're big into DDR and you're really going to play it, you should probably just buy a dance pad anyway if you don't already have one. If you already have one...
Hey, crackhead, if you're such a crackhead, how come you don't own a crack pipe?
That's what I'm saying. Well, maybe they're just getting into DDR.
Yeah, I gotta say,
late to the party though.
When we got into DDR, we basically had those crapo, thin, rubbery, plastic dance mats duct taped to the floor in our apartment semi-permanently.
I think we've told this story before.
Yeah, we'll tell it again.
All right, but anyway, other than that, that's all you need for a living room computer.
I mean, don't let feature creep in. Don't try to use it for other stuff because it's just going to be a pain. Think about what you want this computer for and then do whatever you want. If you want to watch movies, set it up to watch movies. If you want to play games, set it up to play games.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you could try to be all cool and maybe like have a laptop and have a docking station next to the TV, and you put the laptop in the docking station, and the laptop doubles as the living room computer, and it's also your laptop, but you're just going to clutter up your laptop with a bunch of living room stuff.
Also, don't expect to surf the web on this thing often. It's great for Google Video. One of our favorite pastimes is typing words like explosion in and just sitting around and having a grand old time.
Mm-hmm.
But as for surfing the web with all of its text, not so good.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you're going to want to learn, if you don't know it already, if you're using Firefox or a lot of other programs, Control plus and Control minus. Well, Control equals, technically. If you press those buttons, you can make the font bigger and smaller.
Now, even better, if you use Opera, Opera does it one step better and actually zooms in and out, including the images.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really recommend Opera if you're going to have a PC hooked up to the computer and you expect to use a web browser at all.
Opera seems to actually be the best browser for anything except a desktop computer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, they're putting it on the DS.
Opera on the DS, Opera on the Palm Pilot, Opera on the TV is the way to go. But on a normal computer, it's all Firefox.
I guess I'm glad that... I mean, I like Opera. I don't use it, but I like it. And I'm glad that they seem to have found their niche. Like, this is the thing that Opera's good at that makes it different from Firefox.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Firefox, Firefox 2 Alpha came out today.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to try it out and talk about it next week.
I tried it out a little bit. I'll talk about it later.
All right.
All right. I think that's it for our living room PC discussion.
For those of you who listen to all 4 days of Geeknights, tune in tomorrow when we're going to resume our trend of review some games. And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcast, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.